Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Horage Array. This watch costs 2,300 Swiss francs and it's available from horage.com. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in. Horage sent me the box in this transit shipping box, which is made from plastic. So it's a hard plastic case with a hinged lid. And interestingly, inside the lid has a plastic membrane which is expandable, as you can see when I press it with my thumb. And in the base of the plastic watch box there is a second plastic membrane which also flexes and expands around the watch. So when one closes the lid on the piece, effectively it provides an air pocket above and below the watch, and that sandwiches the watch between those plastic membranes, preventing the watch sliding around and getting scuffed and scratched in transit. The two air pockets also provide protection from shock damage to the movement in transit. So this is a very effective method of shipping the watch internationally without it getting damaged or shock damaged, and I really like it. I think it's a shipping method that other watch brands should consider using because it does work very well to prevent damaging the watch when it's being sent around the world. So with regards to the Horage Array watch itself, this is a 39mm piece and it's made from 316L grade stainless steel. 20mm lug width and a relatively short lug to lug measurement of 46mm with an overall thickness of 11mm including the dome sapphire crystal. The dome sapphire crystal has 5 layers of anti-reflective coating on the underside, and the exhibition case back is also glazed with sapphire crystal. So the first notable feature of the array is that it doesn't have a conventional watch dial. Effectively, the dome sapphire crystal becomes the watch dial because, as you can see looking at the date complication, which is framed with a white date window at 3 o'clock, the white date window is printed on the underside of the dome sapphire crystal. The Horage brand logo is done in a dot formation at the 12 o'clock position. At the 6 o'clock position we have a power indicator which is also printed in white on the underside. So effectively the dome sapphire crystal and the black chapter ring with the 12 applied indices become the registers for the hour, minute, hands and also the second hand and the date complication. So it's nice to be able to see the date wheels and also the power indicator. Everything's visible, and although the movement is brushed into a satin finish on the bridges rather than pelage finishing, I really feel that it adds interest to the watch. It gives the watch a real 3D effect. Rather than just being another skeletonized watch, it's a unique design. I really like the bevel of that black chapter ring with the 3D applied indices. It really does give the watch a three-dimensional effect when one views the watch, the hands and also the chapter ring through that dome sapphire crystal. And really having 5 layers of AR coating is a credit to Horage because they haven't cut any corners with regards to this piece's specification. The bezel of the piece is brushed into a satin finish which is absolutely flawless. I love the way the light reflects off that satin finish. Now interestingly, the flanks of the case have 2 different finishes in one, and that's something that's very unusual. In the centre of the flanks of the case, the flanks are brushed into a vertical finish in a satin finish, but on the ends of the flanks of the case there's a flawless mirror finish to the lugs, as you can see on either end of the flank, and that's on both sides of the piece. And I really like it. It's more difficult to do, and I think it's a credit to Horage's case finishing to tackle a difficult execution like this. Vertical brush finishing in the centre of the flank, mirror polish finishing to the lugs at the end of the flanks of the case. And it really does add interest to the case and contrasts beautifully with the brushed satin finish to the bezel of the case. So on the underside we have an exhibition case back which is secured to the midsection of the case by 6 screws symmetrically. As I've discussed, the exhibition case back is glazed with sapphire crystal. It's often the case that watch brands will cut production costs by glazing an exhibition case back on the reverse of a case with mineral crystal rather than sapphire crystal because it's less expensive. So I think Horage deserve full credit that they haven't cut any corners with the materials and the specification of the watch. The exhibition caseback provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters of water resistance, as does the solid stainless steel screw down push-pull crown. Now, the execution of that solid stainless steel crown is done to perfection. It feels very comfortable to grip. It's a very grippy crown and it's silky smooth to manually wind the movements. It's signed with the dot formation H of the Horage brand logo, and that's very aesthetically pleasing. I really like the look of the crown, and it's an absolute pleasure to operate, so it's done very well, and I love the feeling when one manually winds the movement to top up the power reserve. With regards to the case polishing, it's polished to a mirror finish in between the lugs, and that's something I always like to see on a watch, regardless of the price tier of the watch. In between the lugs is an area that often brands neglect to finish. They leave it in a brushed satin finish because it's less expensive to mass produce watches that way, rather than polishing in between the lugs to a flawless mirror finish like the flanks. But I'm pleased to report that Horage haven't cut any corners. In between, the lugs is polished to a mirror finish, as are the lugs themselves to a flawless finish on the ends of the flanks, as I've discussed. So the case finishing of this watch throughout is 10 out of 10. It is outstanding, and it's the kind of case finishing one would expect to see on a Holy Trinity piece from Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet or Vacheron Constantin respectively. It really is a level above the 2,300 Swiss franc price point of this watch. It's a mid-tier piece, but what one is getting in terms of build quality and case finishing is a high-tier finish level. So I really like it. Now, interestingly, with regards to its construction, it's a three-piece case. We have the bezel, the midsection, and the exhibition case back are three separate pieces which are sandwiched together to form one watch, and I really like it. It's a testament to the case making, the build quality of the Horage, the fact that they're able to produce a piece with a three-piece construction but still provide an effective hermetic seal to 100 metres of water resistance with the push-pull crown and also that exhibition case back. Now, with regards to the strap, it's made from calf leather and it's very soft and supple. Usually when one buys a watch, the calf leather strap that comes on the watch is usually very stiff and it takes time to break it in and to get the strap to be comfortable. But this feels very supple and soft, and it's clearly a very high grade of calf leather. The stitching is absolutely flawless. It's the kind of strap that one would expect to see on a Patek Philippe, for example. The underside of the strap is also beautifully finished with flawless stitching, and it's handmade, as it says, as you can see, handmade. And the other side of the strap has the Horage brand logo. So two keepers on the strap, as you can see. One is fixed and one slides. Now, one thing I really like about this is the deployant clasp. As you can see, Horage have come up with their own two-button push deployant clasp, which they call the U-Flex. Now, the U-Flex is a unique design to Horage. It's a single-fold buckle, and I really like it. It's polished to a flawless mirror finish, as you can see on the exterior, very aesthetically pleasing. The two-button push is nicely sprung-loaded. The interior is finished to perfection. Interesting contrast of brushed satin finish and also mirror polishing to the interior of that U-Flex single fold clasp, and I really like the trigger action of those springs, as you can see. Very nicely done. Again, this is the kind of deployant clasp one would expect to see on a high tier piece. One doesn't usually get this kind of finishing and attention to detail on a mid tier piece which costs 2,300 Swiss francs. I really like it. Functional, comfortable to wear, very slim profile and comfortable to wear on the wrist for long periods of time. I'll just show you the attention to detail. If you look at the interior, you can see it's also beautifully laser engraved with the Horage Dots brand logo on the interior of the clasp. So just a very well executed deployant clasp, and I think it's a credit to Horage that they've come up with their own unique design, the U-Flex, rather than just copying other generic designs used by other watch brands when it comes to creating a deployant clasp. So I really like it, and it complements the calf leather strap. Now, with regards to the watch in terms of colour schemes, this is the black version. As you can see, it has a black chaptering. But the array is also available with a white chaptering version or a grey chaptering version. With regards to the leather straps, there are also three different options. One can have a black leather strap, a grey leather strap, or a cracked calf leather strap, which is a black and white finish, which is very popular. Now, if the leather strap is not to your own personal taste, they also offer the array on NATO straps in various colours. So really, the options are limitless. You've got three different colour options for the leather strap, and you've also got the options of NATO straps. This is clearly meant to be a daily wear piece rather than a dress piece or a sports watch, but it is a very capable daily wear piece because of the 100 meters of water resistance and the fact that the sapphire crystal is very scratch resistant, and also it has 5 layers of AR coating. So I like the versatility of it. This is a watch that you could wear daily as it's 39mm, so it would easily slip underneath a shirt cuff as it's only 11mm thick, including the dome sapphire crystal and the exhibition case back. The 46mm lug-to-lug measurement really is suitable for all wrist sizes, but I would say to you, this watch is ideally proportioned for a collector with a 6 to 7 inch wrist due to the 20mm lug width and the 39mm case size. Very versatile and functional piece. So with regards to the movements, this really is the best aspect of the array, the K1 movement. Now, the K1 is made in-house, and I understand that Horage spent 7 years developing this K1 movement. Now, interestingly, the rotor is made from tungsten, which is a very unusual material to make a rotor out of, and the tungsten rotor is beautifully laser etched with the Matterhorn outline. So the Matterhorn is a very famous mountain in the Swiss Alps, and it's a very appropriate mountain to have on the rotor of a Swiss-made watch, which is entirely handmade in Switzerland. So where is the Horage array made? Well, the headquarters are in Biel in Switzerland. The K1 movement is entirely made in-house at the headquarters in Biel in Switzerland. So what one is getting for 2,300 Swiss francs is an entirely Swiss-made watch. It really is incredible at this price point to get an in-house movement with a 64-hour power reserve, and it's made in-house in Biel in Switzerland. So really, that cannot be beaten in terms of value. So with regards to the movement, it's a very interesting specification because it runs at 25,500 vibrations per hour and a rather unusual frequency of 3.5 Hz. Now, usually the industry standard for an automatic movement is 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. The other popular beat rate and frequency is the lower beat rate of 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz, which is used by Seiko, for example. So why did Horage use the unusual beat rate of 25,200 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3.5 Hz? Well, it has the effect of extending the power reserve. If one increases the beat rate of a movement, it has the effect of increasing the accuracy, but one sacrifices power reserve, so that's the negative of a high beat movement. Now, if one lowers the beat rate, one extends the power reserve, but unfortunately the negative is one sacrifices the accuracy. So really, by having this movement, the K1, which took 7 years to develop, by having it run at a compromise of 3.5 Hz and a beat rate of 25,200 vibrations per hour, it really does give the ideal compromise between both power reserve and accuracy, and really to get 64 hours power reserve from an automatic movement like this is very impressive, and it's a testament to Horage's movement making capability for them to have come up with their own movement after 7 years of development, and at the end of that 7 years of development to be able to create a Swiss in-house movement with 64 hours power reserve is very impressive. I think they deserve full credit for that. Now, with regards to the movements, another feature which is very interesting and also technically excellent is the escapement is made from silicon. So silicon's a very good material because it's anti-magnetic and it's also very low friction. So in terms of the durability of the K1, it's going to be a very good movement because the movement escapement isn't going to wear. Because of the silicon, it's very low friction, and it's also not going to become magnetized, which is often the case with automatic movements. They become magnetized and then the calibration runs out. They gain or lose time rapidly. They tend to run erratically. So silicon is actually a very practical material for escapements, and I really like that aspect. The 64-hour power reserve and also the use of a silicon escapement is something that one doesn't often see at this price point, 2,300 Swiss francs. Really, one would expect to see a silicon escapement and a 64-hour power reserve on high-tier pieces. So I really think that they deserve credit for that. So what are the negatives of the watch? Well, personally, I would prefer to see a conventional screw-down exhibition case back rather than the use of 6 flathead screws. securing the case back to the midsection of the case. But however, that is my own personal preference. I understand that some collectors like the use of flat screws in a symmetrical formation, so they will actually like the aesthetic look of having those 6 symmetrical screws securing this case back to the midsection. But I personally think it would be more aesthetically pleasing if it used a screw down exhibition case back. Now, the other negative, I'll show you what it is, and this is a minor criticism. I have an 8-inch wrist, and although the calf leather strap is beautifully executed with this U-Flex 2-button push deployant clasp, it's just a fraction too short. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see what I'm talking about on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I'm pleased to report that I can close the U-Flex 2-button push deployant, no problem at all. As you can see, the strap even fits up to my 8-inch wrist with no problems whatsoever. But however, it's just a fraction too short to engage the end of the strap in the 2 keepers. There's one fixed keeper, as you can see, and one sliding keeper, as I've discussed. So if the strap was just an inch longer, it would mean I could engage the end of the strap in the 2 keepers, and that would be more aesthetically pleasing. But however, this is a minor criticism because a 39mm piece really is meant to fit collectors with an average wrist size of 6 to 7 inches. So the calf leather strap that comes on the watch, it will suffice if you're a collector with an ordinary size wrist. The 46mm lug-to-lug measurement does wrap around the wrist very well, as you can see. The 11mm thickness, including the dome sapphire crystal, means that the watch will easily fit underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. So very comfortable piece to wear. The feeling is very good on the wrist because it has that flat sapphire crystal in the exhibition case back. So very comfortable piece to wear for long periods of time. It does feel very lightweight on the wrist, and I really like that. The comfort and the feel-good factor of the watch are outstanding, as is the comfort of that calf leather strap. Very aesthetically pleasing, hand finished to perfection, and also I really like that U-Flex mirror polishing to the clasp. It's just very aesthetically pleasing to look at. Very nice and very easy to operate, the 2-button push trigger system on that deployant. I really like it. So, minor criticism, the strap is just an inch too short for my 8-inch wrist, but as I've said, if you're a collector with a 6 to 7-inch wrist, you can negate that criticism because it's not going to be a problem for you. So, overall, I think it's a very well executed piece. So, lastly, I'll just give you a Lume shot because I want to see the peak performance of the 12 symmetrical applied indices when they're in the dark and fully charged up. So as you can see, just from my desk light, the applied indices and also the hands are already beginning to emit and glow brightly, but I'm going to charge them up to the absolute peak performance using my 100 LED UV torch, and then we'll see the maximum performance of the Super Luminova used on the Horage array. I want to see what is the absolute peak performance of it because this is meant to be a daily wear piece. It's a very versatile watch, as I've discussed, but that means that it should also have outstanding lume quality at this price point. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, the Super Luminova glows in a very aesthetically pleasing green tone, which gives the watch a real vintage aesthetic. It reminds me of tritium lume, and it's very bright. The hands are clearly legible, and one can also see the sweep of the red second hand because it has a square loomed section on it. And I really like the symmetry of those 12 applied indices. As you can see, they're clearly legible when one tilts the piece at an oblique angle through the dome sapphire crystal. So very aesthetically pleasing, but also very functional. The lume is glowing brightly and it's also glowing for a good length of time. Unlike low quality lume, it's not fading away fast. So I think it's a credit to Horage. They haven't cut any corners with regards to their specification or build quality of the array. So lastly, I'll surmise the piece. What do I think of it? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. The watch should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So the price point of this watch is 2,300 Swiss francs. I think the watch is definitely excellent value at that price point, and I also think it is excellent quality at that price point. To get a date complication piece with a 64-hour power reserve from an in-house Swiss movement and also a power indication complication to the movement is all outstanding. I really think that it's a very competitively priced piece. 100 meters of water resistance, 5 layers of AR coating, and it even has a sapphire crystal and tungsten rotor on the in-house movement. Really, there are no criticisms to it. I think the build quality, the case finishing, the quality control, the execution of the solid stainless steel crown, everything about it is working and working very well. Even the hand finishing to the stitching and the calf leather strap, the material itself is just beautiful. The polishing to the deployant clasp, which they call the U-Flex single folding clasp, is done very well. And really, I think that this would still be a value watch if it was 5,000 or 6,000 Swiss francs. Really, to get a watch with an in-house movement and 64 hours of power reserve at 2,300 Swiss francs is exceptional. So this watch doesn't just meet my criteria of being excellent quality and excellent value. It exceeds the criteria. I would have no reservations whatsoever recommending this watch to you for your consideration. I think this would make a very nice king piece in anyone's collection. The 39mm case is going to fit all collectors, and really the Super Lume Nova performs better than I expected. So I like everything about it, and bear in mind there are 3 options. This is the black version, but if it's not to your personal taste, there is also a white version or grey version, and also 3 colour options to the straps. One can have grey, black, or alternatively the cracked version, which is black and white. So I like everything about it. So I highly recommend Horage to you, and I would also say check out their other pieces because they're also currently releasing a Tourbillon one, and that really is a very interesting piece. So I hope you've liked my review of the Horage Array. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.